All right, so imagine this. Formula One. The fastest cars in the world, drivers risking their lives at 200 miles an hour, billions of dollars in tech, sponsorships, global TV audiences, and all of it. Every championship, every win, every moment of glory can be decided by a pit stop. 2 seconds. That's all it takes. 2 seconds for the perfect ballet of mechanics and machines to either make you a hero or completely ruin your race. Now, normally pit stops are works of art. A perfectly timed, perfectly choreographed moment that makes you think, wow, humans actually can function like ants when they want to. But today, we're not here for perfect pit stops. No, no, no. Today, we're talking about pit stops that start out a little clumsy and then spiral into absolute tragedy. Each one more chaotic than the last. Until by the end, the pit lane is basically a scene out of a disaster movie. And before we dive in, what's the most cursed pit stop you've ever seen? Drop in the comments because I promise you, F1 history has given us some wild ones. And if I miss your favorite, hey, maybe I'll feature it in part 2. Section 1. The innocent mistake. Let's start small. The simplest tragedy, a jammed wheel nut. Now, this might sound boring, but trust me, it's one of the most humiliating ways to lose a race. Like Valtteri Bottas in Monaco, 2021. He comes in second place, running strong, and the mechanic goes to take the tire off, and nope. The wheel nut fuses to the axle, completely welded on. The mechanic is just hammering away, sparks flying, and the car doesn't move. Bottas sits there, helpless in the slowest, most painful DNF you've ever seen. That's the thing. Drivers get blamed for crashes, strategists get blamed for bad calls, but pit stops? Sometimes it's literally a piece of metal just deciding, yeah, I'm not moving today. And imagine the mind games. You're Bottas. You've trained your whole life. You're in the peak of human performance. You're on the world stage, and your entire race ends because of a nut. Question for you guys. Would you rather lose a race because you messed up or because a tiny $2 piece of equipment messed up for you? I honestly don't know which one's worse. Section 2. The domino effect. Okay, so let's make it worse. Because one wheel nut is bad, but at least that's just one car. Now imagine the domino effect. The car gets sent out before the wheels are secure. This has actually happened. Ferrari, Bahrain 2018, Kimi Räikkönen pits, one wheel isn't attached properly, and as he's released, he runs straight over a mechanic's leg. Broke in 2 places. It was brutal. And to make it worse, the camera caught everything, live broadcast, global audience. You could feel the pit lane collectively wince. And it raises a bigger point. Pit stops are dangerous not just for drivers, but for the crew. These guys aren't just mechanics. They're basically athletes who can bench press a tire in 1.8 seconds. But all it takes is one bad release, one communication slip, and suddenly you've got a workplace accident on international TV. It's like, imagine if at your job, every time you made a mistake, millions of people saw it in slow motion. And then they made memes about it. That's being an F1 pit crew member. Section 3. Pit lane chaos. All right, now let's crank the chaos dial. Because once cars start colliding in the pit lane, that's when it goes from tragedy to absolute sitcom. Classic example, Singapore 2008. Felipe Massa pits, Ferrari screws up, and he drives off with the entire fuel hose still attached. Picture this, a bright red Ferrari dragging a 20-foot-long fuel hose like it's the world's most expensive kite tail. Mechanics are sprinting after him like, Sir, you forgot your pump. And this wasn't just embarrassing, it was catastrophic. Massa lost precious time, the team got fined, and the race? That was the infamous Crashgate race, where Renault intentionally crashed their own driver to help Alonso win. Like, the whole pit stop fiasco was part of this giant cursed domino effect. That's the thing with pit lane chaos. It never affects just one team. If one car gets stuck, suddenly 3 cars behind are blocked. Imagine being the guy behind, screaming into the radio, why are we parked at the world's most expensive McDonald's drive-thru? Section 4. The human cost. Here's where it gets darker. Unsafe releases don't just ruin races, they hurt people. Haas, Australia 2018, had 2 unsafe releases in the same race. Both times, cars released with loose wheels, both retired immediately. And you could see the pit crew's faces, they knew instantly. Years of training ruined in 1 second. The pressure is insane. A driver has 2 hours to prove himself. A mechanic has 2 seconds. That's it. 2 seconds of perfection, or you're the villain of the weekend. And here's a thought. Should F1 even have pit stops anymore? Other racing series don't do it. IndyCar's pit stops are slower. NASCAR has more leeway. But F1? They've weaponized efficiency. Sub-2 second stops, risking injuries just to save 0.1 seconds. What do you guys think? Is a spectacle of a lightning-fast pit stop worth the risk? Or would the sport be better without them? Section 5. The absurd spiral. Okay, let's step out of reality for a second and imagine how much worse it could get. A tire rolls loose and bounces straight into the grandstands. The pit crew accidentally replaces a wheel with a shopping cart wheel. Or even better, the driver gets out mid-race to change his own tire like some 9 to 5 commuter on the side of the highway. Here's a fun fact. In the 1950s, drivers actually did get out to refuel and make adjustments themselves. Can you imagine Max Verstappen today? Now, we enter disaster movie territory. Jos Verstappen, he pits, and the fuel hose malfunctions. The car explodes in flames. Literal fireball. Crew members scrambling. Flames shooting into the air, the whole pit lane engulfed. Jos survived, but the footage is nightmare fuel. And you can picture the chain reaction. One fire spreads, other cars are stuck, pit lane becomes a parking lot of multi-million-dollar machines slowly catching fire. And imagine if the fire truck arrived late. The irony of the fire truck running out of fuel in the pit lane? That's comedy and tragedy at the same time. Section 7. The in-game pit stop. And finally, the most tragic pit stop of all. The car comes in and never comes back out. The mechanics strip it down, piece by piece, like a Formula One autopsy. Tires off, bodywork off, driver sitting there in disbelief, realizing that his championship hopes just died in front of him. It's poetic in a way. Pit stops are the ultimate symbol of Formula One. The pursuit of control in a sport built on chaos. 2 seconds to prove you've mastered everything. And yet, those 2 seconds are where the chaos always creeps back in. So, that's our journey through increasingly tragic F1 pit stops. From innocent mistakes, to pit lane slapstick, to literal fireballs. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these disasters is the funniest to you? Which one is the most tragic? And, bonus question, what's the most cursed pit stop we haven't seen yet? Drop your answers in the comments, because I'll be reading them all. If you had fun with this deep dive into pit lane misery, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell, because next time we're going to talk about insert next cursed motorsport idea, e.g. F1 crashes that aged like milk. And remember, every time you think you're having a bad day at work, at least you didn't release a Formula One car with 3 wheels attached. See you next time.